So you've made your first purchases of gold bars or gold coins from Costco, and you've decided that you'd like to continue on that journey. So you're asking yourself, what are your next steps? And that's what the content of this video is going to be. Some suggestions where you can take further steps on this journey into physical precious metals. If you are new to the channel, my name is White Cross. You can call me Dubsy, you can call me White. I answer to pretty much anything. And I'd like to thank you for being with me here today. If you are new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, I would ask that you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and all that kind of stuff so you can find out more information like this. If you are one of my returning subscribers, thank you guys as always for being with me here. And if you are new to the channel, I like to begin each of my videos with a simple disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to offer you any kind of financial advice. I'm simply trying to share some of my experience having bought and sold precious metals and rare coins for the last 30 or 40 years. And I also like to begin each of my videos with some concepts. We're going to talk about some terms and we're going to talk about some concepts. And I'd like to reiterate that this video is really for folks who are kind of newer to the idea of physical precious metals. You experienced stackers out there are welcome to watch this video. You can critique me and point out the mistakes that I make, but this is really for you folks who are just dipping your toes in the waters of physical precious metals and maybe don't have the information that you feel like you need in order to confidently move forward. So that's what this video is going to focus on. Some terms. We're going to go slowly. And one of the major terms that I want to talk about here is the term of premiums. We talk about premiums a lot on this channel. It can be a difficult concept for new people to really acquaint themselves with. Premiums are simply the amount of money over and above the value of the precious metals that you have to pay for whatever it is that you're buying. Those premiums usually go to cover the profit of the person who's selling the item, but also keep the lights on, pay the rent, handle the inventory. The premium is the amount over the value of the precious metals, and that's the amount of money that you have to pay the person who is selling the item to you. You want to try to get as low a premium as possible, and we've got some tips to help you along the way. Keep in mind those premiums. We will be talking about those later. The other concepts and terms that I wanted to talk about, vehicle. You'll hear me use the word vehicle a lot. And vehicle in this case doesn't mean a car. I'm simply talking about the option or the form of the precious metal you're buying. You see here several different vehicles that I've laid out before us to talk about today. When I'm talking about a vehicle, I just mean a particular form or a particular option of a precious metal item, a vehicle. Remember that when we're talking about precious metals, we are usually talking about troy ounces, gold, silver, platinum, all usually bought and sold in units of troy ounces. When you're looking at the price of gold or silver on a daily basis, you're looking at the commodities market or a website like Kitco that will tell you what the price of gold or silver is. They are quoting that price in troy ounces. Troy ounces, 31.1 grams, a little bit more than that, but 31.1 grams. The other way that precious metals are weighed is in grams, and we'll talk about those a little bit later as well. And finally, the last term I wanted to throw at you is the term mintage. Mintage just means the number of pieces that are made. Typically, when it comes to coins, we talk about mintage as being a particular year in which a coin was struck. So a mintage can have many millions of pieces or very, very few pieces. Mintage simply the number of items made, usually in a particular year. Some concepts to throw at you. When I'm talking about precious metals, I like to give an illustrative amount that we work with over the course of the video. For the sake of this video, we're going to be acting as if gold is $2,000 an ounce and that silver is $25 an ounce. There's that troy ounce increment that we're talking about again. That is a theoretical or an illustrative amount. Gold and silver are globally traded commodities whose prices rise and fall regularly, constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, around the world. But for the sake of a video like this, I like to have an illustrative amount that we can use so we don't have to keep on referring back to whatever the actual price of gold or silver is at any moment. Keep that in mind. While you're watching this video, gold and silver could be significantly higher or significantly lower. We're just using these figures as an illustration. And if you've watched some of the other videos that I've put out on Costco, then you have at least a little bit of background here. But if you haven't, we have at least 4 videos in this series. Costco Gold, the benefits and pitfalls, Costco Silver, the benefits and pitfalls, and also how to sell your Costco Gold or Silver when you come to the conclusion that it's time for you to exit. Remember that Costco will not buy these items back from you. They won't accept returns. They won't accept refunds on these. That's because gold and silver are globally traded commodities. You can't just return them, especially if the price of gold or silver has dropped dramatically. You can't expect Costco to buy these back from you. So there are some options. If you have come to the conclusion that it's time for you to sell, I definitely encourage you to take a look at those videos. So that's enough. We've talked about some terms. We've talked about some concepts. I'm going to give you some other options if you have decided that you want to continue on this journey after having made some purchases through Costco. We're going to talk about some concerns that I have with the items that Costco sells. We're going to talk about some suggestions, and those include American Gold Eagles. We're going to talk about American Gold Buffaloes. We're going to talk about Canadian Gold Maple Leaf coins. And we're going to talk about potentially some smaller bars offered by the same refineries that you may already be familiar with, as these are items that Costco sells. And finally, I'll conclude with some suggestions of where you might be able to find these items if you come to the conclusion that these are the right pieces for you. I'd like to stress that a journey into precious metals is a very personal journey, and I don't like clickbait YouTubers who tell you what you should do. I'd rather arm you with information so that you can make the best decisions for your situation. So let's talk about some concerns I have with the items that Costco already sells and which you might already have. When you're talking about the items that Costco sells in terms of gold, you're probably talking about those PAMP Swiss bars. Also, they have the Lunar Legend bars. Those are the ones in the red packages compared to the blue packages of the PAMP Fortuna bars. And there are also bars by Rand Corporation of South Africa. They come in a gold package. And then also those Canadian maple leafs. Those are solid gold coins issued by the Canadian government, the Canadian Mint. They all come in these rigid plastic holders we call assay cards. These are plastic cases that contain the gold bars, the gold coins. My concern with these pieces that Costco is selling, especially if you are new to the world of precious metals, is that these are actually pretty large increments. Now, a troy ounce bar is probably, internationally speaking and nationally speaking, the most commonly traded unit of gold, the most common vehicle. There's that word again. But it doesn't have to be. A 1 troy ounce gold bar with our theoretical $2,000 price is about $2,000, not including that premium that we talked about, the amount that you have to pay over and above the value of gold. I've also noted that Costco is selling 50-gram bars and 100-gram bars. So a 50-gram bar is significantly larger than a 1 troy ounce, which again weighs about 31.1 grams. A 50-gram bar with that $2,000 theoretical price per troy ounce of gold, $3,215. Again, these are US dollars that I'm quoting. But the 100-gram bar, $6,430. That is a significant amount of money to put into one gold item, one gold vehicle. And that's my concern. There are other options out there. And if you're new to the world of precious metals, you might not even be aware that there are these other options out there. There is no divisibility when you're talking about these bars. Divisibility, in my opinion, is a very important concept, and it means exactly what it sounds like. If you find yourself in a position where you need to sell your gold that you've bought from Costco, you have to sell that entire bar, that entire troy ounce, that entire 50-gram, that entire 100-gram bar. What if the price of gold has dropped significantly since you bought? You can't sell part of a bar. You can't sell half of a gold bar. You have to sell the entire amount, even the amount that you didn't need to sell. and that means you're taking a loss on every single gram contained within those bars, however the increment is. So there is no divisibility with these bars that are actually somewhat large compared to some of the other vehicles that are on the market. There's also very little dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging is a simple concept where you invest or spend a certain fixed amount at a regular interval over time. So if you're limiting yourself to a 1 troy ounce bar, the smallest of the bars that I've seen offered so far by Costco, you are limiting yourself to that $2,000 minimum purchase, and that's a significant amount. But if you're dollar cost averaging, you must spend $2,000 every single increment of time. Say, for example, you decide you want to invest on a monthly basis. $2,000 is a pretty significant amount to spend. So if you are trying to dollar cost average, I like the idea of smaller increments so you don't have to put an entire $2,000 a month or whatever the time period is every single time you make a purchase. Dollar cost averaging, and then the concept of divisibility. Two important concerns that I have with these minimum 1 troy ounce bars that you can buy at Costco. And finally, I am not a particular fan of gold bars. So while you might already have bought gold bars from Costco and you feel comfortable with them, I personally don't like gold bars for a variety of reasons. In fact, I've put out 2 videos recently where I talk specifically about why I don't like gold bars, especially those gold bars that you find sealed within these rigid assay cards. If you're interested, I'll put a link down below. Not trying to scare you. If you are comfortable buying these bars from Costco, by all means, Costco is a known and trusted vendor, and I don't have any issue with what they're selling. I just think there are better options out there. Gold, difficult to verify gold bars. Difficult to verify, difficult to test, difficult to weigh, no face value. Take a look at those video series if you are interested in pursuing this, exactly why I've come to this conclusion after several decades of buying and selling. So I do have some suggestions, some other things that might make more sense if you would like to continue down this path of buying gold and even silver from an organization like Costco. Those include continuing to buy from Costco. That's the most obvious one. If you are comfortable with them, if you are comfortable with their premiums that you're being charged at Costco, if you don't mind gold bars, you don't mind assay cards, or even those gold coins in the form of Canadian maples, then you can do a lot worse than Costco. I have a really strong, high opinion of Costco, and chances are that if you're buying these items from Costco in the first place, you already have to be a member, and you probably have a pretty strong opinion about Costco as well. They are a known vendor, they are a quality vendor, they offer very competitive prices, especially if you want to take advantage of those 2% back executive card purchases, which at the time I'm filming, these items available from Costco do qualify for. Remember to check and make sure before you make a purchase of your own, depending on that. Costco doesn't address many of the concerns that I have above, and that's why I'd like to offer at least a few other suggestions. Now, again, if you're new to the world of precious metals, I'm going to try to keep these suggestions as middle of the road as I possibly can. There are so many different options out there, and I don't want to confuse you with throwing a whole bunch of different options at you. So we're going to stick to 4 or 5 options that to me make the most sense and are probably the most commonly traded gold vehicles. These bear consideration. The first one, gold American Eagles. I happen to like this option because it fits in really well with the silver American Eagles that Costco has recently started selling. The silver American Eagles, 1 troy ounce of pure silver. The gold American Eagles, 1 troy ounce of gold. And this is interesting because if you're new to the concept of an American gold eagle, American gold eagles are not pure gold, and that scares some people away, especially if you are new to the world of precious metals and you've bought some of the things like the PAMP bar, the Rand bar, and the Canadian maples from Costco. Each one of those options is 99.9% pure gold, at least that pure. The American Gold Eagle is actually 91.67% pure, but it weighs slightly more than 1 troy ounce to account for the other metals that it is alloyed with. In this case, that is a small amount of copper and a small amount of silver. The 91.67% purity is a tried and true and tested purity of gold that has been around for hundreds of years. And the major benefit is that it is a little bit more durable than 99.9% pure. You may have heard that gold is a very soft metal. It's still quite hard. Gold is still a very hard element, but compared to other elements like iron and nickel, it is considerably softer. So by alloying a little bit of copper, a little bit of silver in with the gold, you make a much stronger and more durable gold. And that to me is a benefit. And that's what the American government has decided to do with the American Gold Eagles. Launched in 1986, so they've been around for 38 years. They are very well known. They are very well accepted internationally and nationally. And the major reason why I wanted to discuss them as a possibility is because they offer fractions of a troy ounce. So not only do you have the option of a full troy ounce American Gold Eagle, remember at our $2,000 theoretical price, this would be about $2,000. There is also a 1/2 troy ounce gold American Eagle, $1,000 purchase. There are 1/4 ounce gold eagles, so they would be about $500 a piece. And then there are even 1/10 ounce gold eagles, and that would be around $200 a piece. Now, we're going to talk about some other vehicles that have the options of fractions, and this is where that term that I was talking about earlier of premiums comes into play. If, for example, you're going to buy a 1 troy ounce gold American Eagle, the premium, the amount that you might pay over and above the value of the gold, may be $200. If you're going to buy 2 1/2 troy ounce gold eagles, the premium per coin may be smaller, let's say theoretically $150. But since you have to buy 2 of these to equal a full troy ounce, your premium is actually $300 per troy ounce. Compare that to the 1 troy ounce vehicle with a $200 premium. So you can see these premiums start to stack up, and that is a concern that we will talk about not only with the American Gold Eagles, but also some of the other vehicles we're going to talk about. If, for example, you wanted to buy the 1/4 Eagles, and they have a premium of $100 per coin, well, that's certainly less per coin than it is for these other vehicles, but you'd have to buy 4 1/4 Eagles to equal an ounce of gold. 4 times $100 is a $400 per ounce premium. And it can be even higher when you go down to a coin the size of these 1/10 Eagles. They can be significantly more expensive. Not per coin. Per coin it may be a little bit cheaper, but when you multiply that increment to get to the full troy ounce, you do wind up paying a considerable amount more per ounce in premiums. Keep that in mind. Usually speaking, the smaller the unit, the smaller the vehicle, the higher the premium per ounce. So I like the fact that they are fractional. The fractional also allows you to do smaller dollar cost averaging amounts. Let's say instead of $2,000 a month, you only had about $500 a month that you could put into gold. Well, then these 1/4 ounce vehicles may make a lot more sense to you. They require a much smaller amount of money, and that works much better into a lot of people's budget if you are dollar cost averaging, if you're buying on a very set increment of time. A smaller amount is much more manageable for a lot of people. And it also works into that divisibility that we talked about. Let's say that you do need to sell some of your gold to pay for an unexpected expense, and you needed to access $1,000. At our theoretical $2,000 per ounce price of gold, you would only have to sell 2 or maybe 3 of these 1/4 Eagles to get up that entire $1,000 that you need, rather than selling that entire 1 troy ounce amount, or even the 50 or 100 gram amounts. Remember, those are even considerably larger. So the positives of the American Gold Eagle. They've been around for a 38-year period of time. They are a known and trusted vehicle that is launched by the United States government and covered with the protections that United States government vehicles offer. They are well known universally. They are fractional, so you can dollar cost average into them maybe a little bit easier if your budget is smaller, and they are divisible, which means you can sell the smaller amount that you need to in the event that you needed to access the cash that you may need. Some negatives: they are not pure gold. Again, they weigh more than they're supposed to. They have that full measure of 1 troy ounce of pure gold, 1/2 troy ounce of pure gold, 1/4 troy ounce of pure gold, and 1/10 troy ounce of pure gold. They have the full measure of gold in them because they weigh slightly more than those increments. But in recent times, the market seems to be moving more towards pure items, which is probably why Costco has offered these pure gold bars from PAMP, from Rand, and the pure gold coin from Canada. So if you want to keep consistent throughout your precious metals holdings, then maybe the American Gold Eagle is not the right vehicle for you. I happen to like that purity myself. It's known and trusted. For my gold stackers out there, it's the gold that is used in English sovereigns, in South African Krugerrands, and it has been used in the American Gold Eagle coins for almost 40 years now. But if you like consistency and you already have pure gold, maybe think about some of these other options that we're going to talk about. The next one up is the American Buffalo. American Gold Buffalo is a series that was launched in 2006, probably also for the same reason that Costco has offered these pure gold options. That seems to be where the market is heading. The American Gold Buffalo is in fact a pure gold, 99.9% pure gold vehicle. So this is an American option where it's actually 99.9% pure. I like this design a lot. This was originally issued by James Earl Fraser way back in 1913 for the American Buffalo nickel. You can see that we've reincorporated a lot of our designs, the Weinman design for the silver American Eagle, the St. Gaudens design for the American Gold Eagle, and also the James Earl Fraser design for the Gold Buffalo, the original nickel that was issued in 1913. All gorgeous American designs. I'm so glad they've reintroduced them in our precious metals issues. They are pure gold. So as opposed to the American Gold Eagle, again, 91.67% pure, these American Buffaloes, 99.9% pure. The negatives of the American Buffalo, and I should also mention the American Buffaloes do come in those fractional sizes as well. They have much smaller mintages. There's that weird word we talked about at the beginning of this video. Far fewer of the American Gold Buffaloes have been made. Now that's a positive, in my opinion, if you can get them at a very low premium. But often, because there are collectors who like these pieces and the mintages are smaller, those premiums tend to be higher for the American Gold Buffaloes. They're also maybe slightly less well known. They haven't been issued for as long, the mintages are smaller, and because of that, the American Gold Eagles may be a little bit better known than the American Buffaloes. But if that doesn't bother you, if you like these, and believe me, I think that design is amazingly beautiful, especially when it's rendered in gold, then maybe these negatives aren't so bad. Those premiums, the highest, probably the most significant difference between the Buffalo and the Eagle. Watch those premiums. We want to try to pay as little as we can over and above the value of the gold. But they do offer that divisibility, and they do offer that smaller amount for dollar cost averaging. The next option that I thought would probably be appropriate, especially for new buyers, is to consider the Canadian gold maples. Now, if you've already bought a Canadian gold maple through Costco, then you are at least familiar with this series. But Canada has been minting these since 1979, so that's 45 years. They are very well known universally, maybe not quite so well known in the United States as the American Gold Eagle, but they are still known and still respected quantity. And they do often come in fractions. Not only can you buy the 1/10, the 1/4, or the 1/2, you can actually buy Canadian gold maples as small as 1 gram. That is a very tiny coin. I'll show a picture of it here. So you can buy these in 1 gram 1/25 of a troy ounce, 1/20th of a troy ounce, 1/10, 1/4, 1/2. All allow for that flexibility, that divisibility, and that smaller dollar cost averaging concept that we talked about. There are also lots of varieties for the Canadian maple. The United States Mint tends to be somewhat conservative when it comes to their releases. They don't really go off on different tangents, and if you really like adding a little bit of spice to your collection and you think that you're ready for it, Canada offers different privy marks. That is a special symbol that's struck on the coin to represent a special occasion or mark a special person, privy marks. They also have different finishes, so the surfaces of the coins come in different treatments to make them look more interesting. They offer holograms on some of these pieces. Really interesting concept. And they even offer colors on some of these pieces. Now, when I'm talking about colored pieces, please be careful and only buy these pieces that are issued by the Canadian government. There are some people who add colors after market, and I think that that actually diminishes the value. But if you're looking for something with a little bit more interest, then maybe the Canadian maples are a good option for you as well. And if you already have purchased a gold Canadian maple or 2 or 3 from Costco, then adding these, especially in these smaller fractions, can make a lot of sense. There's that continuity. You're keeping a very consistent vehicle, just maybe altering the size of the pieces that you're picking up. The negatives, kind of few. They're not American, and if you're an American, again, you probably want something that's as mainstream as possible when you're first starting out. And they are maybe a little bit less popular in the United States. The last option that I have that I'd like for you to consider is the smaller gold bars from maybe even the same refineries that you've purchased from Costco. Some PAMP and Rand both offer smaller increments than these 1 troy ounce or 50 gram or 100 gram bars. You can buy PAMP bars in as little as 1 gram. Here's an example of a PAMP bar in a 1 gram size. Common sizes for most of these makers: 2.5 grams, 5 grams, 10 grams, 20 grams, troy ounce, 50 gram, 100 gram bars. So if you are interested in sticking with the same manufacturer that maybe you've already purchased from Costco, maybe consider these smaller increments. Again, if you've got deep pockets and you don't mind dropping $2,000 at a minimum, keep on buying those 1 ounce bars or 1 ounce coins if that's what you're comfortable with. But if you'd like the option of maybe investing, dropping smaller amounts on a regular basis, consider smaller bars from these same manufacturers. The same known quantity that you're used to, the same purity that you're used to, the same packaging even that you're used to. Just a slightly smaller increment that doesn't require a full $2,000 plus purchase every time you go to make a purchase. Smaller bars. They complement your current Costco buys. They are fractional from 1 gram to 100 gram. They offer some of the lowest premiums. There's that word again. The premiums on gold bars tends to be, not always, but often, the smallest amount that you'll pay to buy gold. They don't have a face value, and they don't come from a mint, and there is often not a collector base for these. Consequently, the premiums tend to be quite low, especially when you're comparing quarter ounce, half ounce, full ounce increments across all of the different suggestions that we've had here today. The negatives. All of the reasons that I talked about earlier, that I don't care much for gold bars. And again, you can watch the series on gold bars to figure out exactly what it is that I'm talking about. If you are comfortable with gold bars, a personal decision. Like I always say, this is a personal journey. And if you're comfortable with them, then that's fine. And finally, some suggestions. Where are you going to pick these items up if Costco doesn't offer them? That is a really good question. Above everything else, I like supporting your local retailers. So if you've got a local coin shop or coin shops, visit them or call them to ask if they have some of these smaller increments available. If you'd like to buy smaller increments, pick up the phone or visit their shop and ask them if they have them. And there's almost a guarantee that they will have other options that I haven't even scratched the surface on here tonight. Remember, I really wanted to keep this kind of middle of the road for people that are first dipping their toes in the waters of precious metals. Your local coin shop is a great source. Also, when it comes time to sell, remember that Costco will not buy these items back from you. If you are not in an area that has a local dealer that you'd like to use, then you can explore some of the larger online bullion retailers. Some of them that I've dealt with in the past include appmex.com. Known and trusted, their prices may be a little bit higher than some, but believe me, when it comes to precious metals, often that little extra pays for quality, so I can't recommend them highly enough. Gainesville Coins is another one that I've used in the past. Another example is JM Bullion. I've never dealt with JM before, but I've seen their name mentioned very favorably online for many years. So if you don't have a local source and you'd like to explore some of these other options that aren't offered by Costco, go to these websites, and I'll leave links down below in the comment section, and check and see if they've got these items available and do a little bit of comparison shopping. I can't be with you on this journey all the way. You're going to have to take these steps for yourself, but if you can do some comparative shopping online, you'll wind up with the exact amount that you need at the exact price that you want to pay, and that's a very gratifying thing. Finally, you might want to consider adding silver to your gold stack. We've talked before about how Costco is carrying these American silver eagles. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm really glad that Costco is offering them. So if you've already got some gold and you'd like to diversify a little bit, then maybe it's a good idea to at least consider purchasing some silver American Eagles to go along with the gold that you've purchased. You have the benefit of buying from Costco, although I understand they're selling out very quickly. They have competitive prices, they have free shipping added into it, and if it's Costco, it's a quantity, it's a known quantity, an organization that you've already dealt with. So consider adding some silver, just a suggestion. Lots of other possibilities out there. There are as many options out there as there are gold buyers. So I just wanted to give you some very common, very middle of the road suggestions. As soon as you feel like you'd like to expand and go after something a little bit more exciting for your gold purchases, I have lots of videos available to kind of walk you through that process as well. One of the other options is the Gold Rookies First Purchase series. There are 5 videos in that series. I think that they will be very helpful for you if you'd like to explore and go a little bit deeper. What to do for your next steps once you have started buying Costco gold. Some great options, some great opportunities for you. If you have questions about any of the items that we've talked about here today, by all means, leave a question down below. I like to say that if you've got a question, there's a very good chance that somebody else watching this video has that same question, and you can help the community by asking those questions. I'll try to respond if I possibly can. If there are suggestions of other videos that you'd like to see me make that deal with these specific terms, items, anything that we've discussed here today, leave a comment down below and I'll see if I've got the resources and the knowledge base to make a video based on whatever it is that you are interested in. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Go ahead and like this video as well. That helps work into the algorithms that YouTube uses to promote these items to other people who have these same interests. And as always, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey as you go deeper into the world of coins and physical precious metals.